Today I'm going to be covering nuclearMC. What is nuclearMC? Well, briefly, it adds nuclear reactors to the game that can be used, and you can use uranium basically as a form of fuel in the furnaces. However, there's a catch. Nuclear reactors need to be cooled, and they need to be watched over because if they run out of coolant, they will explode. When they explode, they will lead to a radiation field that's around 40 blocks in radius, and when you enter into that field, you will start to get radiation sickness. Excuse me. But I will go into more depth about that a little bit later. So how do you create a nuclear reactor? Well, you need to create the nuclear reactor core in order to make sure that people aren't nuking each other within the first week of the server. We've had it netherite block, gold blocks, and iron blocks. You make the reactor core. For fuel rods, you need to get uranium ore. Uranium ore is mined. When you mine blocks in the world, there's a random chance of it just dropping uranium ore, and you can just put that uranium ore in a furnace and it will create enriched uranium. Enriched uranium can then be used to make the fuel rods. So first I'm going to show you how to build a nuclear reactor, because that is going to be essential. We'll take this fuel rod, thank you very much, and we'll build a reactor. So it is a reactor core, 3 cauldrons around the side, and you want to put your hopper first. And then at the very last you need to put your furnace. Breaking any one of these components will essentially break the reactor. So you can, with a reactor you can just fill these cauldrons with water, and this will serve as coolant. To start the reactor, you throw in a fuel rod, and then this furnace will start running for the designated amount of time. I believe it is 20 minutes. Over time, the hopper will start to accumulate nuclear waste. When you hold nuclear waste, you will gain radiation. So let's wait a little bit. So over time, the nuclear reactor will accumulate nuclear waste. When you hold nuclear waste, you will start to gain radiation. If it is nearby and you're near it, you will also start to gain radiation if you're within the vicinity of the dropped item. Your radiation will naturally decrease over time, and to get rid of about 50 rads, you can shift and right click with radiation pills. How do you craft radiation pills? Well, this is the crafting recipe, and I believe if you look, let me see. So this is the crafting recipe. Pumpkin seeds, sugar, and lapis lazuli to make a radiation pill, which will cure 50 rads. By the way, you can also find many of these crafting recipes in the crafting search. So here I have the materials for radiation pills, so I can craft some here. This is true of the other plugins as well. So radiation pills are good for dealing with acute radiation, but what if you're in a radiated area? You just absolutely need to be protected from radiation. Well, when you wear a hazmat suit, you are totally impervious to radiation. So here I have nuclear waste in my hand and I'm no longer suffering the effects. How is a hazmat suit constructed? Well, just through sponge, essentially. You just use sponge to craft normal armor and you will get a hazmat suit. When a reactor runs out of coolant, it will explode. You can indeed run the reactor without coolant, so if these cauldrons were empty, you could indeed throw in a fuel rod and just have it run. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes for the reactor to go critical. When it does, it will leave a large crater, about 25 blocks in size, and 25 blocks in radius, and it will also send shock waves. If you look around an area that has been irradiated, you will find that there are missing blocks, just 1 or 2 or 3 blocks just missing around the area. And the radius is quite considerable. I believe it's about 70 or 80 blocks in radius, though the damage is mostly confined to the underground. But there's more. So Shadow Trout was kind enough to code in a plugin that makes it so dispensers will pick up and dispense water. How is this relevant? Well, I can simply have an observer here observe or detect changes in the decrease of water, and you can have a water bucket essentially dispense water into the cauldron. This will allow you to run your reactor in the background for much longer periods of time, though of course you would want to make sure that your redstone on the backside is looking pretty good. That way you don't just have an observer keep sending out signals and waste all your water buckets. So combining these sorts of principles, you can have a considerable reactor region and just keep using uranium ore to smelt fuel, or uranium ore to smelt various materials, and you can save on coal as well as avoid having to just accumulate lava buckets.